All right, ladies and gentlemen, MrSotko here. Welcome back to the channel, and today we got some saucy, finger-licking, molassesy, slightly caramelized with a little bit of extra heat in that pan, saucy drama today. So, did John McAfee put a dead man switch on Ethereum? So there's this conspiracy going around. You might not know what I'm talking about here. So a while back, John McAfee had created a token called Whacked. He even got a tattoo of the token with the hashtag symbol or the dollar sign symbol, if you will. And it was basically a reference to Jeffrey Epstein not killing himself, and that if John McAfee were to disappear, it would sort of resemble that as well, and that if he were to die or go missing, that all of a sudden there would be tons of data that would be leaked to a bunch of media sources through the Ethereum blockchain, and nobody really knows what that means, whether it's raw data or it's just a bunch of links going out on the Ethereum blockchain, but a whole bunch of data on a bunch of CIA and various other government officials. And we'll get a little bit more into that in just a second. So this all started with an email that I received, and this was actually forwarded to me. This is a Symmetry email that went out to a bunch of subscribers of the paid platform of Symmetry. Symmetry gives a bunch of trading data. They give a sort of a coin of the month situation, and they give out an email all the time about the crypto industry. So it says, last night crypto lost one of its most polarizing figures. John McAfee, the man who invented the crazy, genius, possibly criminal CEO persona, died age 75. Love him or hate him, the man invented moving crypto markets with a single tweet before all the cool kids were doing it. So basically, the video that I made yesterday about John McAfee's death, I basically said the same thing, that he was sort of, if you don't know who John McAfee was, if you're new to the crypto world, John McAfee was sort of Elon Musk before Elon Musk. He was the first celebrity, if you will, to basically make it cool to move crypto markets with, again, a single tweet. Basically, he was paid an inordinate amount of money, and then he would say, oh, I love this coin, you should all buy this coin, or some kind of positive tweet on a coin, and the coin would indeed go up probably hundreds of percent, and if you happen to be already holding that coin, then you were in luck. I'm not here to write an obituary, though, nor to speculate on the cause of his death. I'm here to talk about a very specific conspiracy theory that I certainly wouldn't put past the namesake of McAfee antivirus. So first, McAfee repeatedly said that he would not commit suicide and enjoyed his time in prison. And that's kind of what I said as well, that McAfee really wasn't any slouch when it comes to prison, because he's been there several times, at least for short stays. So I don't feel like it would have cracked him that quickly, but who knows. Going as far as saying, know that if I hang myself a la Epstein, it will be no fault of mine. The 75-year-old even got a tattoo in 2019, which reads, Whacked, a sign that if the media ever report his death a suicide, it would actually be U.S. officials silencing him. Catalan authorities are reporting the death of McAfee as a suicide. When most media outlets started reporting McAfee's death, a mysterious Q appeared on his Instagram account before the account got suspended. While many speculated that the Q represented QAnon, it might also hide a second secret. Hidden in the Q was a hexadecimal representation of an Ethereum wallet. Noting nothing was in the Ethereum wallet on the Ethereum mainnet, but the Ropstein testnet, there was a smart contract called Whacked, and if you were around in 2019, you remember that Whacked was a cryptocurrency launched by McAfee himself, marketed around the Epstein didn't kill himself theory. In theory, the activation of the Whacked contract might have been triggered by McAfee's death. This is also referred to as a dead man switch, a weapon which activates when the human operator becomes incapacitated. This is something that McAfee himself confirmed was in place a year ago. The activation of the Whacked smart contract is believed to be the dead man's switch. According to McAfee's previous tweets, the information contained in the smart contract relates to the government-level corruption, starting with corrupt CIA agents and Bahamas officials. This was a tweet he made in 2019. I've collected files on corruption in governments. For the first time, I'm naming names and specifics. I'll begin with a corrupt CIA agent and 2 Bahamanian officials. Coming today, if I'm arrested or disappear, 31 plus terabytes of incriminating data will be released to the press. Now, this really couldn't be released on the Ethereum blockchain because the entirety of the Ethereum blockchain is nowhere even remotely close to 31 terabytes. However, it could be in the form of links if this is actually real. And I actually made a video about this, or at least I added that to a video. I remember this in 2019. So many believe the whacked smart contract will send these files to different media organizations. Whether the information contained are the ramblings of a crazy person or pertinent proofs of corruption, they represent a fitting end to a man that has always lived on his life on the edge. So that's the email here, and we'll go into this first, this image that was on Reddit, and this is clearly from 4chan or something like that, and it says, holy ass, the code in the Q picture was actually the hexadecimal representation of a private key for an Ethereum wallet. The wallet is empty and has no transaction history on the mainnet, but if you look at the Ropsten testnet, there is a test deployment of the whacked contract prior to it being launched on mainnet. There was also a new test contract launched 6 days ago from the same address, but the code is not published to scour mainnet to find a similar contract. WTF is going on here? I'm pretty good with Ethereum, do some Solidity programming, but might need some assembly ninjas to help reverse engineer this contract code and see WTF it is. How the F is he deploying contracts and posting on social media with hidden keys to the wallets, creating the contracts from jail and or dead? This S had my heart rate through the roof. I need a Xanax. And then here is a tweet. I am content in here. I have friends. The food is good. All is well. Know that if I hang myself a la Epstein, it will be no fault of mine. And then this shows the, I believe, the Ropsten smart contract here. And then says, getting subtle messages from U.S. officials saying, in effect, we're coming for you, McAfee. We are going to kill yourself. I got a tattoo today just in case. If I suicide myself, I didn't. I was whacked. Check my right arm. So could this all be just total misunderstanding or one of McAfee's usual dealings? He's done this in the past many times where he's called out corrupt officials, or he's said that he has data on corrupt officials, this, that, or the other thing. McAfee has said some very weird things in the past that, quite frankly, make no sense in his drug-induced ramblings. So on one end, he could have been suicided, or on the other end, he could have committed suicide and then just sort of made it apparent to the world that he may have been whacked just as a last-ditch effort to confuse the world once again. But did John McAfee put a dead man switch on Ethereum? Rogue tech entrepreneur John McAfee was reportedly dead after committing suicide in his Spanish prison cell yesterday. Now rumors of a blockchain-based dead man switch have emerged. Shortly after McAfee's death was reported, an image with the letter Q was posted on McAfee's Instagram account. Later, McAfee's entire account, including the post, was deleted. So this is the Q. The letter Q was seemingly a reference to the conspiracy group QAnon that led some to believe that McAfee's death had triggered a system that would leak secret government information. Those who were able to access the image claimed the image contained an Ethereum address key. However, those claims were incorrect. The string began with FBMD, indicating that the text was Facebook metadata, as in standard across the site, though some have suggested that the metadata contained a blockchain key in hexadecimal code. There does not seem to be any meaningful data in the string when it is converted from hex code. Others have drawn attention to recent activity concerning McAfee's WACK token on Ethereum blockchain. McAfee launched WACK token in November 2019. At that time, he expressed a belief that he would be killed by government agents under the guise of suicide, similar to the conspiracy theories that emerged around the death of Jeffrey Epstein in 2019. Now, SwitchDex's token tracking contract for WACT has begun to receive funds after long periods of inactivity. Some have speculated that these transactions could have been triggered by McAfee's death. However, given that the contract is receiving incoming funds, the relevant transactions were not necessarily carried out at McAfee's request. It is possible that McAfee's death simply encouraged WACT token holders to move funds. It should also be noted that although the contract's name is Epstein, this simply seems to be the name that SwitchDex chose for its contract, not an indication of any information on Epstein. Though it is conceivable that the transactions contain hidden data or were carried out at a pattern, this doesn't seem to be the case. There is another more straightforward reason that the Ethereum blockchain is unlikely to be involved in a data leak. Most blockchains cannot host large amounts of data. McAfee claimed that he had 31 terabytes on data on government corruption. Ethereum's ledger, however, contains less than half a terabyte of data. Though McAfee could use an Ethereum transaction to broadcast a link to the true location of his data link, though doing so would be an unnecessary intermediate step toward whatever method of distribution he supposedly chose to use. In the unlikely event that McAfee did intend to leak information upon his death, a blockchain would certainly not make up his entire plan. So he did say that he collected files on government corruption, and it was actually in this interview here, and I sort of skipped to the exact place that he says it. So here we go.
Was that after they had raided my property in 2012 in the jungle, shot my dog, abused me, destroyed $500,000 worth of my property over a bogus charge, I was pissed off. And so I donated to many secretaries within the government laptop computers, really nice ones, that were preloaded with viral spyware. Within a week, the entire government computer system was under my control. I was watching, monitoring, listening. I was looking for information that they had set me up for that raid. I didn't find that. I did find out.
So, if you want to find out what he found out, watch the rest of the video, apparently, because it's a long, well, it's an 11-minute interview, but it's always a good time when McAfee is interviewed, because it's just always so crazy. But basically, he claims that after the raid in Belize, the famous raid in Belize, which sort of made him go on the run for the rest of his life after that, because he was like 72 in this interview, died at 75. He's been in prison for, I think, a year, something like that. So it was only a couple years later or so that he was wound up in the Spanish prison. So for a couple years, he was basically just sailing around on his yacht, making videos from his yacht, etc. He even made a room in his yacht that was like a Faraday chamber. It had aluminum foil all over the walls. Right? McAfee. So he claims that he gave the government a ton of very nice laptops that were loaded with viral software that he could steal government information doing that. Did he or did he not? I doubt the government would actually admit that they received laptops from a known international felon, or at least a alleged international felon, and then promptly used them. So if they did, whoops, they probably wouldn't announce that one. So that's where he claims to have gotten all this information that he's going to send across the Ethereum blockchain. And again, it's 31 terabytes is what he claims. And there's no way ever that it would go across the Ethereum blockchain. That would take an enormous period of time. However, as the article stated, it could be simply just in the form of links, and then that would be a little bit more reasonable. But why would you need Ethereum to actually hand out those links? That's really not a thing that you would actually need blockchain for. Sure, it's useful, but once you gave out links to a whole bunch of media and basically the internet, those links will never die. It would be better to have the information on the Ethereum blockchain, then you couldn't get rid of it. But if the links linked to information outside of a blockchain, then the government, if they really wanted to, could just find ways to eliminate that. Although very hard to do with the internet, don't get me wrong, but If they really, really wanted to, they could probably get rid of quite a bit of it, and it would be very difficult to find. However, John McAfee claimed he was collecting files on government corruption, and threatened info will be released if he ever dies. So basically more of the same thing, but a little bit different. John McAfee claimed he had been collecting files on government corruption and threatened they would be released if he ever died in social media posts years before his reported suicide. The tech pioneer claimed in 2019 tweets that incriminating data would be released if he was arrested or disappeared. He said that those involved would be crazy to kill me or collect me. John McAfee reportedly died by suicide on Wednesday. McAfee had claimed he was collecting files on government corruption. The 75-year-old tech mogul is reported to have taken his own life in prison in Barcelona on Wednesday, just hours after it was announced that he would be extradited to the U.S. on tax evasion charges. He had previously claimed in social media posts that if he was ever found dead from suicide, that he had not killed himself, as alleged U.S. officials were targeting him. The millionaire consistently threatened the claims on social media, including the post from 2019, in which he said that he was keeping information private to preserve his life. I've collected files on government corruption in government. For the first time, I'm naming names and specifics in 2019, which he never really did. McAfee claimed information would be released on his death. I'll begin with a corrupt CIA agent and 2 Bahamian officials coming today. If I'm arrested or disappear, 31 terabytes of incriminating data will be released to the press. He continued to claim that the claims in further tweets, stating later in the month, I don't trust anyone. The instant I disappear, the information is released. Those names would be crazy to kill me or collect me. They're simply praying I live forever. If it's released, revenge takes over and I'm dead. The 2019 tweets were unearthed after was revealed that McAfee had a whacked tattoo that he showcased in social media posts, as he claimed that he received subtle messages from U.S. officials threatening him. So a whole bunch of the same for the most part. There's the Q logo that just appeared on his Instagram. So who is doing this? Well, his wife is the one that was tweeting for him while he was in prison. So he's basically writing or calling his wife, and then his wife would tweet those things in the same way that the previous Silk Road guy, Lars, or whatever. Silk Road. Why can't I remember it? Oh my God, I can't remember the guy's name. Anyway, I'll remember it as soon as I click off to, and I'll be like, I should have did that, but I don't feel like it. Anyway, the Silk Road guy tweets from prison, and well, he basically writes a letter, and then somebody tweets for him. So basically, that was what McAfee was doing, and so, you know, it could be just her, and his request was put a Q logo or something like that, or she did it just to confuse people. This is another thing that McAfee typically does, is that he says he has this information, he says he can do this, he says he can do that, and in reality, it's that he really probably didn't have that information, or at least he never actually released that information. And, you know, so this is sort of what he does. And maybe he did actually commit suicide himself, and then just led everyone to believe that he was suicided like Jeffrey Epstein, so that everybody would talk about him after his death, just like one last hurrah in the world to get everybody to talk about him. Maybe he was suicided, but we'll have to see how this information pans out. It seems like a lot of people are still unable to figure this out. They're looking at the Ropsten testnet. They're looking at the WAC token smart contract to see if there's any kind of system that would send out links to a bunch of people. So far, no, but it could be hidden. This could be part of something else. So I will keep up with this news if more information comes out about this. But it is interesting. And one last wild, crazy action from our friend, our crypto shill, and one of the craziest, most interesting dudes probably to ever live, John McAfee. Rest in peace, John McAfee. But that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed it. And as usual, I'll see you guys next time.